Okay, Steve, you're all set.
Thanks, Lauren. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call John Wallace Middle School Project Building Committee to order. It is June 6th. It is 5:54 p.m. Lauren, would you do the roll call for us, please?
Yep, Chairman Woods,
Here?
Joe Harpy.
Here, but
Joe,
muted.
yeah. Joe, are you able to hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Sean Halloran
Here.
and Dave Nagel.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is public comment, and I don't believe we have anybody, but let me just check.
I don't see anyone.
Yeah, we do not. Next item on the agenda is project overview. I asked Lou to put together kind of a high-level scenario of what we're going to be doing to the school. And he has graciously agreed to do that for us. So I thought it'd be good to take a look at this before we actually dig in next week. Hopefully Lauren will have the time she needs. It's 2 weeks to get our RFPs out for the architect, owner's rep, and CM. So with that, Lou, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Steve. Okay, good evening, everyone. Dan graciously helped me out with this with some Wallace customized information, as well as his schedule and how he's going to make it work while we're tearing the place apart on him. In the sequence of the presentation right now is that after the opening slides, which Dan talks about, how the impact is on the school, it'll then turn over to me. I will go through about 25 pictures I took in the last couple of days, really to just make sure all the committee members are familiar with the parts of the building that are being worked on, what are important issues that we need to be mindful of, some of the things that you wouldn't necessarily notice just walking through that are important elements of the project. And then earlier today, and I know I didn't send it to Dan because I just sent it to Lauren and she got it out, was the 6 or 7 files which had the original concept drawings that were done for the Board of Ed 2 years ago, even one of it, maybe 4 years ago, for the first ideas as far as converting it from a quarters along the outside wall to a central quarter with the full classroom brick and block walls for security purposes. That was then updated with a second set of refinements to the plans that were just done last year by Jakunski Humes. And in that version, they had what it is right now, which when you look at it, it's really a reflective ceiling plan. And you have to kind of look through it to see all the underlying pieces compared to what it'll look like potentially in the future. So on the first set, I have the 2 options of we can either have replace like for like number of classrooms in each of the 3 wings, or we can go with a slightly lower number of classrooms to make them bigger and then just have some breakout spaces for small group sessions and tutoring and things like that. And then at the very end, all 7 of those supplemental documents I gave everybody are here. Some of them are going to be difficult to read. I didn't have the ability to really cut them up and make them presentation worthy. So I said, all right, you have all those, everybody can look at them afterwards and, compare what we talked about to what you see. And certainly everybody can give me a call. So with that, if there's no question before we get started, I'll turn it over to Dan to do all the fun early stuff in the presentation.
All right, thanks, Lou.
Okay, so we start off, there are some plans, just of course, as you know now, I know, our plan right now, and this might shift, would be to start with wings 3 and 4, which is the current 7th and 8th grade wing. Reason being, we have some open spaces in our 6th grade area that we're able to move people towards. So in picking those 2 classrooms, we thought we would start with wing 3 and wing 4. And, as you're aware, we would basically convert the open classroom concept to classrooms that have a main corridor down the center with lockers and doors to allow for us to have classroom doors, both from an educational, but of course, first off, from a safety perspective as well. So really gutting the wings, cutting a hallway down the middle of the wing, removing lockers and installing new hallways, classroom doors, walls that are much more secure than what we have now. And of course, security and IT enhancements would also have to be throughout. Our goal would be for work crews to start, wing demolition as soon as students are there. I'll be speaking with our superintendent. I know when renovations happen, we often see if we can get maybe a couple half days of school so teachers could pack up all their belongings before school starts. The idea would be everything would be in boxes, and our custodial staff would then move those boxes to new locations, allowing crews to come and start demo as soon as possible. Staff will be displaced when they return in the fall. And we're hoping, that's maybe Thanksgiving, even as far as Christmas. So it'll be temporary. They could then move back into their classrooms given the construction schedule. And originally the idea would be we would just kind of stay in that phase. But I think in the last meeting, Lou, we talked about after the construction project completes in this phase, moving to phase 2 immediately, having the 6th grade teachers move back out of their wing and starting that to expedite the project. So I think that's kind of the plan we're looking at now. I do have a classroom relocation plan. We don't have to go through the entire plan today, but last spring, I think it was this fall, Lou had asked me to just make sure that there are enough temporary spaces in the building to accommodate current staff. Right now, we have 10 teachers in the grade 8 wing, and we have 9 teachers using the 7th grade wing. So we have to find space for 19 classrooms in the building by doing 2 wings at once. We can do that by utilizing existing spaces. For example, right now we have 4 planning rooms that are utilized for staff. Those can easily be converted to smaller office spaces or smaller classroom spaces for individuals such as classroom interventionists that have small groups of students. Our multilingual learners teacher, has no more than maybe 6 to 8 students at a time. Our special education case managers usually work with smaller groups. Right now, they are in full classrooms. So we would convert some existing spaces that we have to smaller classroom space. The other part of the plan was going to be us to create temporary classroom spaces. So right now we're looking potentially at the academy. We have a large makerspace in our aerospace academy. We estimated about 4 classrooms could be created there. In our media center, we could create 4 classroom spaces there as well. We could actually take a whole wing and move them in since it's a temporary space. Now, the reason those 2 areas would be preferable because we know they have air conditioning and they have heat. Our gymnasium and auxiliary gym do not have air conditioning. There is a concern that if we use those spaces when students arrive in August, early September, it can be climate-wise, can be very challenging. So we have to kind of allocate and see what spaces we want to turn into classrooms. Our media center space is quite large. That's the center of our building. And there are 4. So we're thinking that's what we could do for temporary spaces. So what this plan would do is really have a relocation plan for almost everyone in the building, particularly 7th and 8th grade teachers. As they move out, they may move, for example, our instructional coaches right now both have a classroom. I can move my instructional coaches to an office space and create 2 classroom spaces temporarily for, 2 8th grade teachers, let's say. So this entire room and reassignment location, we've gone through every single individual in the building, every single space we have, and we are able to accommodate doing 2 wings at once. Lou had asked, I think it was the fall, Lou, maybe you had reached out and asked, instead of doing the 1 wing plan over 3 years, could we expedite this and do 2 wings at once? And then finally, we don't have the space to do all 3 at once. We definitely can make two work. So I'll pause there if anyone has any questions about relocation of staff at this time.
Mr. Chairman, Joe Harpy, can you tell me how many bodies would be relocated in terms of student bodies? How many
student bodies? Yeah, so you've got right now, so our next year, it wouldn't be next year, it would be the following year. So actually, our smallest class right now, we have about 130 students. those students would be eighth graders in 2025, 2026. So it would be approximately 130 students and 10 staff members. So 140 people in eighth grade would be displaced. And seventh grade would be our current sixth grade class right now, which is around, we're sixth class, around 150 or so students.
Okay.
So roughly, you're moving about 290 maybe.
So is that close to half of the total population of
It is.
students?
It would be approximately half the population of students would be out of those two wings, and they would be in other areas of the building.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, because they're two of our wings would be
Right.
displaced. Now that's only for their content area courses happen in the wing. So your typical wing houses all of what we call your content grade level teachers. So that's, your English language arts classroom, your math, your science classroom, and your social studies classrooms. Those are primarily who occupy the wings. All of your other, teachers, your encore teachers, gym, music, art, those are all happening in other parts of the building. So we're really just moving those content area classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anybody have any questions for Dan?
All right,
Okay.
so that's the relocation plan. We've accounted for everyone to be relocated. This we thought we'd put something in here. Just this is our mascot Wally waiting for the renovation. Been waiting patiently, as you all know, for a very long time. So we're very happy to move this forward. Here is, I think, Lou, at your point next, you would
Yep.
take over your photo slides of just a layout of the building and when we're talking about moving wings and moving individuals, so you can get a better sense of what we're talking about.
Correct. All right. Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
So in starting the photo tour right now, I'm standing out in front of the school on the Halloran Drive side, just looking right at the front door of the school. And you can see the lettering up on the school wall on the left. And the area on the right-hand side is Wing 3, which is one of the 3 wings that is part of the project. So you can see it's blended in with the same basic brick and brick style construction with the dark framed windows through there. And the whole school really has a very consistent look all the way around, other than the Aerospace Academy around the backside at Wing 7. So in the next slide here, oops. You're running the slides, right, Dan? Or am I?
Nope, I can do it for you.
Okay, I'll let you do it. All right, okay. So you can run it. So when I was in photographing the other night, one of the classrooms there, just had the very low voltage LED lights with the purple haze on it. And being a middle school child of the 1960s myself, I thought this is just great. What a throwback occasion! But we're going to make this go away as part of the work that's here. But anybody who's in middle school or somewhere near that in the 60s probably can have an appreciation for this. So in the next slide that you see here is we're just going around the octagon quarter. So the way the school is set up is you have an octagon, which is the real framework of the building. Inside the octagon is the media center and a number of classrooms, office suites, and workspaces for the nursing staff, guidance counselors, the main office staff, and several of the teacher lounges. On the outside of the octagon are all of the spokes which create the classroom wings. Around the north, west, and south side, you have wings 3 through 8. So you have 3, 4, 5, 6 different wings. Wing 5 was built in 1999 as far as adding the grade 5 students there, and that's the Y-shaped wing. Wing 7 was a renovation of was the old industrial arts area, which became the Aerospace Academy for us. Wings 3, 4, and 6 were the primary classroom wings for, grades 6, 7, and 8, in that fashion. And then you roll over into the media center area and, excuse me, the media center, the auditorium gymnasium as you continue to spiral around the south side going west in this. So the look inside the building along the classroom side is very consistent. You have the brick on both sides. You have recessed doorways for getting in the wings. This one that you see on the right here is when you go through the door, you're going to be right inside the outside window wall going all the way down the wing. And then further down, there's a second door set that is for that wing doing exactly the same thing. So it's very much a mirror image arrangement with minimum changes in each area. So as I go to the next slide on this, I just wanted to take a more face-up view of the door set. And this, I actually blew these up in size, really just to make them bigger. That's really only a 5-foot wide door, and it has to have a split setup with one leaf is 3 feet wide, the other is 2 feet wide. So you have appropriate ADA clearances for being able to get through if you're in a wheelchair, as well as meeting all of the fire egress requirements. Okay. Next slide is then I've now opened those doors and I'm looking right down that what'll be the east side hallway in wing 3, and it runs the whole length. This is somewhere in the neighborhood of 190 feet, and it's 5 classrooms on each side of the wing. So you can see there's a number of the smaller size lockers, and these are only 9-inch wide lockers, traditional 1960s, 70s style. On the left-hand side is what used to be the extended seating for the classroom when it was built. That bookcase that you see on the bottom where it's shelves and drawers on this side used to be reversed, where those were facing on the inside. And when you would turn this around, you would have 5 leg cavities, so there could be 5 people sitting at this tabletop. So the class could hold somewhere between 25 and 28 kids as a result of that. One of the first projects I did here for Dr. Perlini was sometime in the mid-90s when they had brought in their first not laptop computers, but the desktop computers, the PC type thing. And they put a couple in each of these classroom areas. So at the time, the seats were on the hallway side, which meant the student is looking at the screen where the screen faces the hallway side. Teacher couldn't see what the student was doing. All it was chaos at that point of kids messing around and having fun. So Dr. Perlini sent me out saying, you got to figure out a way to fix this issue we're having. So what we did is we just flipped all of these. So the seats were all on the inside of the rooms with the screens facing the teachers, and it made a much more appropriate learning environment at that time. You can also see on these walls, just because of having rooms without doors on them, the decibel level is very high, which crosses over room to room. We added a bunch of sound soak on everywhere we could in here, as well as on the opposite side of the hallway. So where you see those pin-ups on the poster board above the lockers is also a sound soak material. And we have that a little further down as well. And it covers the whole wing. And that was able to get us maybe down 7 or 8 decibels. So instead of being mid-70s in the classroom, it was in the mid-60s for a decibel reading. Okay, so continuing down, I just walk straight down the corridor so you can see how the corridor ends. And you have an exit door that's there with the crash bar. You have some fire alarm and exit signs there. And the cookie cutter nature of how the wing is set up is exactly the same going down both sides. And the lockers are original to the building. The windows are all original to the building. The doors have been modified. This is actually a full 3'0" door right now. I believe when it was built, it was a 2'6" door, but code requirements made that required to be made bigger for fire egress purposes. So that was done, I believe, in 1999 to modify that. Okay. One other, if you go back, I'm just going back for one slide, if you could. If you can see right at the very top of the picture, there is a ventilation grate right there. And these are sprinkled all through the classrooms and the hallways. And John Wallace is basically a rooftop unit school, and that's both heating and cooling that's through there. And it's all forced hot air coming down through those grates. So there's no unit ventilators, there's no circulating hot water pipes. It's all fed from the roof that's here. So the actual units on the roof do not need to be changed. They're appropriately sized for the space in square footage of the building. The ductwork and the how each one is you set up dampers and stuff in each one for control of the ventilation and the air mixing is all that would happen. So it'd be all above ceiling work for your HVAC, but no major investment needed in HVAC equipment. That's here. Okay, next one goes to, just looking through the window. Windows are one of the bigger things that the committee just needs to be mindful of, especially when it comes down to design decisions a little bit down the road. We know from our experiences with the Aerospace Academy about 10 years ago that this window has PCB caulking that was used in it when it was built in 1971, 72. So with PCBs, they leach into the brick and block around all the sides of the window. So part of the requirements from the state is that hazmat remediation for the block and the brick that's impacted by the PCBs needs to be done. So typically you would have a bigger, they cut 3 to 9 inches out all the way around the window frame and dispose of it. And then you either put in a bigger window if it makes sense with the design, or you have to infill back to where you want to be with the remaining glass to fill that cavity. So doesn't look like it's all chopped up. So those will be decisions that both impact the architect for where they will be putting the separation between classrooms, because you certainly don't want a classroom wall bisecting a window and then you have all the sound leaking around the windows and impacting the next class. So you want to have the classroom breaks all fall in the area that's off existing windows or off where your windows are going to be. Okay, next slide, Dan. Okay, so just another look of any classroom that's here. I don't remember exactly which one this is, but it wasn't the wing 3. You can see this particular classroom is outfitted with a front wall projection system. I know what you'll also see on another photo I included was a central pole mounted system, which is older, that's still in use. And the district is moving to all of the large screen 75-inch TV monitors that have the Vivi resources and real good high quality picture delivery on it, and works well with the software that they have. So part of the next gen of what this classroom will look like is how we're going to integrate the technology. I mean, one of the things that was talked about is, even just because of simplicity, we may even want to have those TVs on carts where you can roll them to wherever you want them in the room. You can really set it up for the best possible use for the kids instead of parking it right in the middle of the front wall whiteboard and having to have the teacher work around it all the time. So those are decisions that'll happen, all during the design development process in a few months. Okay.
Lou, I do think, was it at Anna Reynolds? A lot of Vivis were deployed there.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah, that's Anna Reynolds is the prototype for that, what we're doing with that. So this will be a continuation of that strategy. Okay. Okay. So turned around, just looking at that original bookcase setup that we use, where we decided we're going to make it try to soundproof and create some sound separation with it. You can see where the leg cavities were on this particular one. We've actually filled in some shelves to make bookshelves for the room. But if you can envision 5 hardworking middle school students in about 1995 working on the brand new PCs that we got at the time, speaks a lot about where this has gone over the last 25 years. Okay, next one, Dan. Okay, all right. This one is really one of the security concerns of the overall current conditions at Wallace. You can see there's a door that's there, and that door leads into the classroom on the other side. And it's, door can be opened from either side. And if you can even see on the left-hand wall here, there's the like the greenish tack board surface there, and you can see the last three letters OME on it. And then right to the right of that, you'll see a line going from ceiling to the floor, and that'll be the panels of basically just like a 1-inch thick wall board that's there. Some of those are mounted on a track system, so they could actually retract them and make a double classroom. But a lot of them are just fixed that's there. But they really don't have any good insulation and soundproofing properties, and they don't have any security properties to it. So if somebody wanted to get in bad enough, it wouldn't take them very long to either crash through one of these flex walls, or even go in through the door to join it. In reality, the whole wing has become really one classroom from a security purpose. So if that gets breached, the entire wing is at risk for whatever the intruder is up to. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is just turning around. It's just the passageway out of the classroom back to the hallway. There's no doors here, so this is just open air pass through. And you don't get the sound quality, you don't have the security for being able to seal yourself off from anything going on in the corridor. So if somebody can get in that initial door set for the wing, they can realistically get anywhere within the 10 classrooms in that wing. Okay. All right. Okay. On the other side is the second pass through, and there's just a, very simple closet on the other side of that flexible panel, which just provides a little visual separation for just the stuff that's being stored inside. And there's a pair of those back to back for each set of classes. So one is for each room. So it's, nothing bigger than a typical coat closet you would have at home. Okay, next one. Okay, what did I want to see here? Okay, with the these, I know what it was. Okay, what I wanted to point out on this is these systems that we use with a 16-foot long bookcase system are going to become very valuable for us for building out our temporary classrooms. What we plan on doing is taking each one of these, and we have 26 of these, 28 of these across all the classrooms in the 3 wings, and we'll have 18 of them or so for the first 2, that they are going to be taken apart and moved and put back together at the temporary homes for the classes for the 2 wings going simultaneously. So we at least create some semblance of a privacy area. It won't be soundproofed to the level we would want it, but it would be functional for an 8-week period that's there. If anybody can remember from some of our earlier projects in the schools, we had to build full floor to ceiling sheetrock walls to break up the gymnasium into classrooms or other spaces. So this is kind of our way of reusing resources we have that would really be teacher ready very quickly for their use. And since we only have hopefully 8 to 10 weeks of classroom time that we're running the 2 wings simultaneously, we can survive with a minimum investment in temporary outfitting of the school to do this, because that is something that will need to happen. Okay. All right, next one here. Okay, I went back to this entrance. One of the things that you'll see again when we go to the outside view is there's an exit door on a single exit door on one side and a double exit door on the other side. We needed that in order to bring things that are bigger in size into the space. You can't fit everything through a 3.0 door that needs to be in the classroom space. So if you can visualize when we go to the new construction where you have a central hallway, both of these entrances at the far edges of the wings will be bricked in, and a new entranceway needs to be cut into the middle which will be the primary egress path for fire and emergency purposes. That's there. So that's just an important thing to visualize. So when you see the drawings and you can kind of piece these photographs together with what you have for a two-dimensional sketch, it'll bring it more to life for everybody. Okay. Here again is one of the walls that just has the folding component to it. You can see you have the pivot hinge here, and you know, this wall can be walked back if it was chosen to open up this classroom. And again, it doesn't have the security purposes. This will not be present in the new arrangement. Okay, next one. Okay, same issue on the inside. So this set of doors faces the octagon corridor. And again, you know, security purposes, being able to go into lockdown and be able to make sure the doors have those security attributes in the future. We will have one center entrance for all three of these wings. So the double door will still be in place, but it'll be a different configuration with different security hardening attributes that goes with it. But this was the best we could do given this environment, because that's only a 5.0 opening, when the new openings will be a 6 foot.
Lou, I've got a quick question.
Yes.
I saw a fire alarm by the exterior entrance. Is that the only fire alarm in that corridor?
It might be in the corridor, but there would be one on the other side.
Okay.
I'd have to actually go roll back the pictures and double check on that.
Not needed. Just because
there was another one. I saw one.
I did. You went
right
there.
there.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there's two on each side.
Okay.
Okay. That would have to be to the code requirements of the fire marshal or whatever is here. So we wouldn't be making choices on that. That would be imposed on us. Okay. All right. Going back out to the octagon, in wings 4 and 6, they have spaces that need to be modified in order to put a central corridor in. One of the corridors has a slop sink going through the middle for a custodial closet. The other has a bathroom that's going to be impacted and reconfigured in order to put a central entrance in. Those are really the only major modifications that are going to happen, other than the design of the windows and you know, how you would want to build out a classroom aesthetically for purposes of the school with what attributes. So there's not really a lot of, the demo is really very easy in this, other than taking apart these two spaces. They probably would have everything completely cleaned out in less than a week for what they're doing. There's minimal hazmat items that we have to worry about. And, you know, the PCB job will be done from the exterior. So that would really allow them to continue doing pieces of their demo and prep work while the PCB work on the windows is going on simultaneously with that. So they have ways to accelerate. The one we do within the year, PCBs do not have the requirements that the area has to be free of students. Students can be in the general area, but they do have to be walled off. But it's not embargoed like it is for asbestos. Okay. Okay. So it's continuing around, you know, as you go wing 3 to 4 to 5 and 6, you know, very similar, you know, construction, recessed doors. You do have some water fountains that recess into the hallway that are there. You can see the custodian's bin further down, which is right outside of a custodial closet. And, you know, there is a, you know, very strong symmetry between the three wings that's here. We do have, you know, tile flooring all here. These are 12 by 12, so these are not asbestos right now. So that's not a concern. If I remember correctly, we had all the floors tested in these wings quite a while ago to make sure, and there's just raw concrete underneath. There's no tile that has to be dealt with. That's here. Okay. And then just continuing around again, you know, wing 5 is the 5th grade wing. You see the accent color tiles there that you know, identify where wing 5 traffic goes, and across the hallway is the second entrance to the media center. That's there. And then it continues down to wing 6 as you come around to the south side. You know, here's Okay, and then the bathroom, that's one of the spaces that has really good chance of being modified because of the design requirements of a central corridor. This is original design, original construction. The fixtures have been changed over the years just because of wear and tear with middle school kids, and they're mostly 1999 vintage fixtures that are in these rooms, but the design in the setup is 1972. Okay. All right, next one, Dan. Okay, so again, just continuing around the wing over to wing 6, exactly the same conditions, 5-foot wide doors, recessed, brick walls with some ability to have display cases on them. And the next wing down after this is the aerospace wing. Okay, another view of the lavatory or where work of some type will need to be done as part of this project. Okay. Okay, I guess I had this in here a couple times. This was I wanted to accentuate the fact that we were putting as much of our stuff to reuse as possible. And then once we get through the construction, then these things will be ready for the salvage bin for the most part. Maybe we can salvage some of the cabinetry for something, but in all likelihood, it's not worth the effort to rehab it than to just buy something brand new. So next year. Okay, this classroom is one that has the center mount projector in the middle of the room, as you can see more to the left, as well as a couple of the air vents that are in front, closer to the first set of lights, recessed lights that are there. You can see there's 2 of them one on either side of the picture. So those will be ones that get modified based on the HVAC design that's utilized for the space. And then just what the aerospace wing looks like, it's just really is you're able to just compare and contrast what you see for the rest of the school and what that wing looks like that's here. Nothing, architectural at this point to be concerned about on this or an issue. It's just really you have these photographs at your fingertips. So next one is over on wing 6, and this is in between wing 6 and the aerospace wing. You see that lockup area there? That's the solar power plant inverter that is on the roof in this general area of the building. You can see the one main pipe snaking up over the top of the roof. There's no penetrations through the roof to support this. Everything is just laid flat and ballasted to each other for the weight and stability that's here. And then from this point, the inverter is just tied into the general electrical service of the building. So you don't have excessive roof deterioration or roof damage concerns that we have to worry about. This particular solar power plant was installed in 2012. Okay. Next one, Dan. Okay, and this is just the other view. I'm standing down the end of wing 6, pretty much on the service road going around the building, and you just get a better panoramic view of what this area of the school looks like. So next one. Okay, so I mentioned a couple minutes ago that the current condition of the wings has a egress door at either end or either corner of the far end of the building. You can see the one on the left is a double door setup, the one on the right is a single door. So that's where it's going to get bricked in, and then a new door put in the middle someplace based on the final design that's there. There will be a little bit of asbestos work when those new doors are cut in for the main entranceway. Asbestos waterproofing was used when the building was originally done, and that will be disturbed as part of that construction task. The areas where it gets filled in have the PCB part instead of the asbestos. Okay. Right, as I said, the typical window conditions. So when we're looking at this from the outside, when you get into the PCB job, highly probable we're going to lose a few inches of brick, along either side, on the left and right side of both window sets. You can see here you have the complementary course of brick that is running vertically rather than horizontally like the others. Again, that becomes an architectural detail challenge to match things where it looks good and appropriate. It's not just kind of like scab back together again, because the likelihood is that you'll be making a bigger opening, at least temporarily, and then either infilling it back to where it is or even smaller if that's the preference, or you expand the opening to take advantage of the brick that you've cut away as part of this work. Okay. All right. Okay. And again, the same condition exists on all three of the wings with the two end corridor doors, and you will end up with a central door at the end. Okay. All right. So now just wanted to try my best to give everyone a view of what's on the roof with the big rooftop unit. So you can see I'm standing up on the close to the sidewalk for Halloran, and I'm pretty much on level with the top edge of the roof. And I can see much more of the rooftop units that are there. And each of these covers about 5,000 square feet. Most of them have the capacity for somewhere between 6 and 8 zones each for how they distribute air through the areas. And the existing rooftop units are somewhere in the vicinity of 12 to 14 years old. All of the existing ones were replaced starting around 2010 over 4 or 5 a year until we got the job done. So we still have plenty of life. When that was done, roughly year 2010, the ones we had were 37, 38 years old at that point. So we still have realistically 20 years of life left in these, and they're very serviceable for us. We're not in any danger of losing parts, or they're at that point where they're obsolete and they're no longer energy efficient. So they do a good job for us. That's here. So that will be on the roof. That's it. Here I just turned and I'm now looking at wing 3, same issue. You can see the first rooftop unit on wing 3, and the other one's kind of tucked behind the tree that you can't really see from here. But it just gives you the sense that really all the rooftop work that's here really will just be in those top 3 or 4 feet down to that vertical course of brick, and all of the HVAC adjustments will just happen within that part of the job. Okay, what's next here? Okay, all right, and then this one I just wanted to really, show everybody, we do have a service road around the building, which is primarily for emergency purposes, bringing a fire truck down there, but it is used many times on weekend sports and parking for everybody, and it does get a decent amount of traffic. So that is something that is going to be in the fabric of the final design here, that those roads are going to be intact and maintained essentially the way they are. Okay, all right, and then I just went for a close-up here on the door set, and this had the little key fob on it for the security. So that's the way that we would be able to get in on a lot of the teacher was their badges, or like, well, I have my badge on right now. That will get me through that door if I wanted to go in there. One of the attributes that we did at Anna Reynolds that will be in this is we will be changing, or really adding it because it's not there right now, is the lock set that's going to be for each classroom will be going to fail safe, always locked situation. So no matter what, when the door closes, it's in a locked condition from the hallway. So you have to get back in with the teacher's key. But if you're on the inside, you never have to run back and check a lock, see if it actually closed. So when you're in a lockdown or an emergency of some type, it creates that greater level of assurance and safety for the staff. Okay. Okay, and then just back around to the main entrance of the school, so you can just have a little different look toward the length of the classroom wing. You can see you have it's either 3 or 4 sets of triple windows going down each side of the building. If I remember correctly, there's 4 structural piers that are embedded in the walls one at each corner of the wing. And a third one is in between that double window set in the middle. And the fourth one is somewhere in the middle of the big span between these two windows sets as it comes closer to the camera that's here. So you will see that when you get into some of the design, it might be already picked out. Okay. All right, so now we get into the comparison. So this one is new choice number 1 versus new choice number 2. Okay, this is not existing compared to new. It's what are the two possibilities. So in wing 3, when we were doing this, we made a couple basic assumptions that we didn't want to have to tear apart where the windows are as part of this work. So we tried to have the walls for each of the classrooms fall on a column, so you'd have a good structural blend that's here. Since we now are required to do the PCB as part of the work, we really don't have to bother with that. We can kind of configure it any way we want to get the classroom configurations and organization that we want. So what we have on the left-hand side are 10 classrooms, essentially very close in size to each other. And I don't know if I can zoom this up here. Dan, do you know how to zoom this up bigger, even
Yeah.
just focusing in? So
Let
if
me
you just
know
start in
if,
the,
let me know.
yeah, so I just want to be able to read the square footages that are on each classroom. So, oh, there it is. Okay, so it's just
Did it increase for you all?
no, no, it's still just as the same size,
It increased slightly.
slightly.
Let me try again. Zooming in on the,
Oh, I think it's just making your options larger.
yeah. Let me see if
I'm going to go the same slide if I can read it a little better by getting up closer to it. This is the stuff I was having trouble with and trying to, fit it in to these small size pages here.
is it helping you a little bit or no?
Yeah, okay, so you can see that this version here, you can see it's 625 square feet for the first classroom on each side. The existing square footage is 25 by 25. So that's exactly 625 square feet. So in this particular version here, I believe the other ones are something bigger than 625. So if you can scroll down a little bit, Dan, on that particular side.
The first one is 625, yeah.
Yeah, what's the second one? 625 or what's, then we
Seven.
go up to 705, et
The
cetera.
bottom,
So
yeah.
yeah, they're all set 6 705s and 4 625s. Not a great increase because all you're getting is 7 feet of width for the length of the corridor, which is about 140 square feet. So you're picking up about 1,000 square feet. You're reinvesting into the square footage of the classrooms. So you're getting something in everything, but that's, really not quite enough that's here. So that is probably not the version we would want to go with. So when we switch over to the right-hand side, and look at it, that one is 8 full-size classrooms and 2 smaller breakout spaces, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Right. So we have 2 530 spaces and 705 for the other 8. And you could cut down the breakout spaces if you want to grab another, maybe 350 square feet is a good conference room size. So you can grab 400 square feet to, provide a few more square feet for each classroom. It'd be great to get them up to, 750 as a standard size, but, we are limited by the existing, walls for the, there's only so much room in each one.
Mhm.
So, and we really don't want to give up the number of teaching or workspaces, whether they're used full size for a classroom or for small group instruction. So those are decisions and design things
Yeah.
they will be looking at in more detail later on.
And just a note on that, Lou, for example, in 8th grade, we actually have 5 core subjects on the wing. So in 8th grade,
Okay.
you would add Spanish.
Okay.
So for wing 3, which would be the 8th grade wing, we currently have 10 teachers utilizing that space. So
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
create
you
a
want
breakout,
10 full size. Yep.
but 7 and wing 4 and wing 6 may look different. But there are some things like new legislation we want to think about, like Spanish being mandated in K-5, which should trickle up to the middle school. So just considerations as far as it may be a different plan for each wing depending on the grade level and certification requirements, things like that.
Okay, all
Does
right.
wing
So
4?
now you're into wing 4, and just reading the key plan, you can see the one that's fully shaded dark is what these designs are referencing. So you can always pick up on that. So that, you can kind of, visualize, all right, I'm standing on Halloran Street looking at the school in this direction. So that's the one that's kind of coming off at a 45-degree angle to the right. Okay, so in this version, you can see you have the bathrooms right at the top of the wing that are there. And we would cut through a center section there from the existing configuration. And instead of taking where the corridors are now on the outside, we would take part of that space for general storage for what we lose, for what we took out in the middle to make up for that. Or we could find some other, unique design, for how we would use that space effectively. And then these classrooms, looks like 815 is the first
Yeah.
set of them. And if we go down here, 700.
700.
All right, so you have, there's,
It's like 4 700 and then the 805 at the top.
okay, yeah, so again, depending on how we want to, configure it, maybe all of them become 7 1/4 on that side.
Yeah.
And you go over to the other side, we have a smaller breakout space, and those rooms are, I can't read it myself.
Let me zoom in for you.
Yeah.
You have
835.
bathroom, 835 breakout, 2 835s, a breakout that's 290, and then the 835s.
Yep.
So 4 835s, but you have a breakout there in the middle.
Yep. So it's just all these, the design character and ideas of the architect, of adding to the basic concept that we've brought forward here. We have to provide the locker counts we need to support the kids and the number of classes. And, these are, decisions of balancing where's it most important to put the square footage as we're going through this. Okay. So, and then this is wing 6 we're on right now. Yeah. Okay.
Let me zoom back down. That was wing 4. Wing 4.
Okay. So,
I'll go to wing
no.
6. Yeah. I have to zoom out, I think, to get in there for you. Sorry. Oh, here's wing 6.
Yeah. As you can see that on this one, there's 9 rooms in this wing right now because of the bathrooms. And you have one large room and all the others are pretty similar in size. But you could break this out into any fashion that meets the long-term enrollment trends of the school. So everybody can get involved in the design ideas and what's most important, really having an appreciation for the necessities, especially in the areas of intervention and other special support, multilingual stuff that is just essential and the academic programs they have to be delivered. Okay. This is the part I wasn't able to get done. I had the other version, which was the existing conditions against new conditions that did go out in your package before. I just couldn't figure out how to get the thing into the spread into the presentation. So my apologies. We'll get them in tomorrow and we'll send this out in addition to everybody else as far as the full presentation. So we can do that. But if anybody has the ability to look at that, you can see that the one on the left is what's technically a reflective roof, reflective ceiling plan. So it'll have much more of a hatching to it, while the one on the right, which is the new concept, and that was the one that got proof for the architect's cost estimates. You have the ability to compare and contrast and look at the old versus the new instead of looking at new option number 1 versus new option number 2. Okay. The last couple of things I had at the end of this was the ed specs. This is what started the project off a couple of years ago, which had to get approval from the Board of Ed and then going through the town council to allow us to file the grant application. And this became the foundation document that was used for the grant request and has been subsequently approved as a result of it. You have this in your other document. It's just it was a 2-pager. It just speaks to the basic concepts of safety, security, the need to make the classrooms bigger, the need to get the noise level down, and the need to put the security and technology resources in sync with where today's academics are. Okay, and then this is a 2-pager with the ed specs. And then after that, I had the one more page, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah, and then this is just a repeat of the document I sent you, gave out last week at the meeting, which just had the tentative schedule on it. So I just kind of put it where we got it all on one page and wrapped it. So it's been extracted a little bit, but there's no change in the information that's on it. So I think that brings us to the end of the line.
Yep.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Any questions from any of the committee members?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Joe
sir.
Hart,
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
questions if I could.
Yeah.
Sure.
So on a square footage basis, whether let's say you get the Optimum on this, so are we talking roughly around 26,000 square feet of the existing school that we'd be going into and making changes?
I think it's a little more. I think it's around 29,000 square feet.
Okay, because I, from a construction basis, I don't think would make that much of a difference other than, how we get the figure to the bid on the square footage cost, because they're just going to be going really down the line, right? From area to area.
Right. Yeah, it's very similar
For the
build out.
Yeah. And the other quick question I had is, I want to make sure I understand this. As far as the security issues of the building, from an unwanted person or persons, on this phase-in approach, would we be also phasing in those security situations? In other words, would each classroom would have its own devices or?
Yes,
But
right. It would be done
security
as
wouldn't be
part
at
of
the,
the construction.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
It would be integrated into all the work in any one wing. So, presuming the 2 wings are really on the exact day, same track to be finished, all that build out will happen simultaneously. And the day that everybody moves in, everything will be there for them.
In the 5th grade, does that already have these cinder block walls or is
Yes.
that?
Mhm.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, the 5th grade has the ability to lock down by classroom right now. Each door would lock itself down. And that's what we'd be hoping for this once the wings are complete. Right now, we lock down the entire wing when we have a lockdown drill.
Right.
And now we're moving to each classroom would have the ability. I know Mike Morgan shared at one of our safety meetings recently that we would have, the type of lock that always stays locked and has the ability not to be unlocked for security purposes. So we would have, updated security and safety equipment.
Is that a review by the police department or Homeland Security, or who approves these security things that we do? Is it
It has to go through the security. I'm trying to think of the name of that group. Joe sent me a communication. He was asking about a grant for school security improvements that were being done.
But they're part of the school construction.
Part of the whole review
grant
process.
program.
Yeah. The
Program.
security is part of
So
it.
they look at that, Joe,
They will.
when we submit the plans.
Okay,
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have any questions?
I've got a quick question
Sure.
along the same lines of security. While we're temporarily relocating the teachers to the media center and the space in the aerospace academy,
Yep.
do we have a plan during that time if anything happens? And will teachers and students be aware of how to navigate in a temporary situation if an emergency happens?
Yeah, we have some safety and security procedures that we go through. We have a whole document. It actually gets submitted to the state each year And what we would do, and the nice thing about those two spaces, there already are security features, like the media center, for example. There are 4 entrances to the media center. All of those are doors that can be locked down. So we would work with our director of security to determine, what are we going to just use all 4 entrances? Are we going to use one way in, one way out, and keep the other doors locked, just to ensure it's easier to lock down? And the Aerospace Academy and the Maker Space, they actually have a lockdown button that can be hit, and it immediately locks down that whole space too. So when you talk about like a gymnasium or an auxiliary gym, security features aren't necessarily as enhanced there. So I think it would be probably in our interest to look at those 2 spaces first. You absolutely can lock down the gym or the auxiliary gym as well, if that ends up being a space. But we would redo our plans, resubmit, and retrain staff for the temporary areas. And we would
Perfect.
practice too. So we would probably do lockdown drills in the first couple months to practice in those of that school year. We are mandated to do 10 a year. So we would be doing drills in those temporary situations.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? I have a couple. Lou, we don't plan to impact the roof at all, correct?
Correct. I don't expect there to be any. Maybe you'll have a couple penetrations for, if they need a supplemental exhaust fan or something for a bathroom that has to be routed out through the roof, but there'll be just minimal impact to the roof.
Okay, and then windows, all the windows in these 3 wings would be replaced as part of
Yes.
this?
Correct.
And not relocated, just they would stay in the same spot, we work around the openings that we have, or do you think?
It could be wherever the design takes,
Okay,
the building committee. So, if there's somebody who's got a great idea and they want some done, we can just take out more brick. It's not the end of the world. So,
and is the board kind of settled in on option 2? I kind of get that suspicion, that's what you're looking for, the larger classrooms with the breakout rooms versus the equal number of classrooms like you have, or are you open?
well, I have to say it's open. The last time we talked about it was maybe a year ago when we were putting trying to get the grant really moving and get the project supported. And the general consensus at that time is we needed a balance of breakout spaces with classrooms, but we didn't want to build out too many breakout spaces to the detriment of not having enough classrooms in the future. So it's just finding the right mix.
Yeah, again, we can work with the architect obviously on that, but I don't want to send the architect down the wrong road if we're, if we're looking to have breakout rooms and he's thinking or she's thinking that we're going to just try to get as much classroom as we can in that same space. There was 10, so there's going to be 10. There was 9, there's going to be 9. We just need to make sure we communicate
I think
that.
too, we'd want to do a deeper analysis on pending enrollment coming up, right? If we're taking away classrooms and we find a remote, I know, with new building in town, projected enrollment, and also state mandates like Spanish being mandated now, you're adding 2 Spanish teachers to each wing if we have a breakout classroom. So those are just things we'd have to be mindful of, and we could do a deeper analysis probably with what Mr. Parisi on enrollment maybe and what we're looking at moving forward.
Okay, all right. Well, then if nobody has anything else, we're gonna move on, which is just about meeting will be over very quickly now, I think. Is there any other business pertinent to community? Does anybody have anything that they would like to offer? And if not, we will be meeting the 3rd Thursday of June, which is the 20th. Will be our next meeting. Again, I'll double check, but I don't believe we have any. Where did it go? There we are.
There are no members of the
There's no
public.
members from the public.
Yep.
Any comments by any committee members?
Dave Nagel, just wanted to say I may not be able to be at that meeting. I have another one that's kind of conflicting, so excuse me if I can't attend. I'll let you know.
All right, thanks, Dave. The motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, we stand adjourned at 6:58. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay.
Night.